Hey everybody, happy Monday. I wanted to come on here. I had a conversation with somebody and I thought I'd share the knowledge when it comes to sanitation and protecting yourself, especially with the influx of cases that we are seeing. In case you haven't figured it out, I'm talking about the big C. I don't know if the algorithms pick up the voices inside the videos or not. I didn't even put that in the title. I just put disinfectant. When the big C came, I actually went down and got recertified and for infectious diseases. And I think I was probably the only person in my area in northern Arizona that was in the cleaning industry. So I wanted to be sure that since I was going to be responsible for others, that I was making sure that I was giving valid information. So I went and got recertified. I took a 8-hour course online, and a lot of stuff I already knew, and I just wanted to share some of that knowledge. First and foremost, if I don't know if they're still doing it where you are, but in my area they've actually stopped. But for almost a whole year, you would watch the grocery store clerks wash and sanitize the checkout each time. And then eventually you saw them put plastic over it so they could just wipe off the plastic, because we know that each one of those units is like $2,500. And then it was actually the cleanest that we've ever seen any bathrooms. Anytime you went to go visit a bathroom publicly, it was probably the cleanest you've ever seen any of them. At least it was for me. I was like, wow, someone's really giving it some spit shine. And then when you went to Costco, they sanitized the carts. I don't even think they're doing that anymore. But there was a lot of sanitation going on, but there was also a lot of cross-contamination, is my point. So when you see your bus person or your cashier using the same paper towel over and over and over again, they're not really sanitizing anything. They're just kind of wiping and hoping that they get most of it. So when you are in someone's home, before you go, there needs to be questions. Like there was preliminary questions, what we asked. So if you were a brand new client and I hadn't been in touch with you and I didn't know who you were, I would ask if anyone had had COVID in the last 10 or 14 days, because at that point, I think it was like 14 days. And they would, depending on their answer, was depending on where they got put on the schedule. A lot of people who worked with me at that time did not want to go into a house that had had someone who had had COVID. The fear and the accidental, I'm going to actually contaminate myself and get COVID, was more overwhelming for a lot of people than the actual disinfecting standards that happened. So, because I couldn't get my hands on, sorry, I dropped the mic, hopefully that's still working. Because I couldn't get my hand on any disinfectant, except for, and even if I could, it was $100 a gallon. I had to learn how to do things on the fly. So I got a membership to Melaleuca, and they have a disinfectant there. It's made out of thyme oil, which you cannot use around cats. It could hurt them. But it's a great disinfectant, and it's totally natural. So my whole point is, if you follow procedure, then you won't harm yourself or others. So you take your microfiber cloth and you fold it in a square, and then you fold it over, and then you fold it over so it's a fourth, right? You're spraying, and then you're wiping, and then you might spray a little bit more, and then you're going to wipe after you let it sit for the dwell time. After about the second turn of that cloth, you're not disinfecting anymore. You're just smearing the same thing back onto the surface. So you have to flip it over and start the process again, go about 2 more times, and then refold. And then if you feel that the chemical is starting to soak through, that rag is probably no more good for disinfecting. So then you would have to get a fresh rag. So you're going to use a lot more cloths than your normal cleans if you're disinfecting and sanitizing. And they actually have the lights now that you can put on, and all of the black light areas, what it looks like to me, hits those surfaces, and you have to keep angling the light so it gets all of the surfaces. That works too. But doing that is very helpful. And then making sure you're wearing gloves and that you're not cross-contaminating. Obviously, you don't want to wear the bathroom gloves in with the kitchen. So you want to dispose of those. And then when you go into the home, we no longer change sheets. We just didn't do it anymore because of the big C, right? Excuse me. So we no longer change sheets. I think there was one lady that I mentioned in my conversation with the person. This is why I'm sharing this, so that we can all benefit from it. I actually went over there myself. I put on some she was 97. There's no way she's going to get those sheets on that bed. And I drove over there in between lunchtime, and I would do the sheets for her. She would, try to pull them off, and she couldn't. She weighed like maybe 100 pounds wet. And so you just have to take precautions. And then you're using their vacuum. You're not going to bring your vacuum in because you don't want to cross-contaminate. And then when you take all of your gear outside, I taught all of the people who were helping me to lay all their gear outside, and we would do a spray over of disinfectant and let it sit for the dwell time. Then there became a whole thing with toilet brushes, whether to use the client's toilet brush or not. I just preferred to use ours. We actually disinfect ours. We've always have. Every week they go into a bleach wash, and then they air dry. So end of any worry about that. And then when they start to break down, we just toss them and get new ones. But those are things that you can do to help protect yourself from catching the cooties. It's up to you whether you wear a mask or not. It's a psychological thing for a lot of people. I don't like wearing masks, but if you feel more protected wearing one, by all means, wear one. Cloth masks are not going to protect you as much as the RN3s. I think that's what they're called. And but then you're not going to be able to move as fast because you're breathing hard, because you're not getting enough oxygen in your lungs. So you have to kind of weigh what that is. So those are some of the steps that I taught others how to protect themselves. And then when the COVID was really, really bad, I actually would come in, and I went out a couple times to show people. We would actually, and I would show them that they would enter in through their backyard, and hopefully their neighbors were not looking, and I would tell them to disrobe outside, and we would leave the uniforms. They would leave their uniforms and their towels outside, and then that way the atmosphere could kill any cooties. So when they brought them inside to laundry them, you just wash on a hot and you dry on high, and then ta-da, it's all done there. I just wanted to settle in your mind a little bit about that, because it can be kind of overwhelming when you think about the germs, and then, did I get it all? Did I not get it all? Did I go far enough? Am I going too far? Am I not going far enough? So you have to put those into consideration. So no vacuums in someone's house. You use the client's vacuum. Same deal. If they use a spin mop, I would use their mop. I'm a flat mop girl. I always have been. I prefer them. They're more sanitary, but it does take practice to learn how to do them. And then you're going to get a disinfectant, whatever you can get your hands on. I know for a while there we couldn't even get rubbing alcohol, but rubbing alcohol at 70% is a disinfectant, and it actually absorbs into the atmosphere pretty quickly. And the dwell time is, I'm a little rusty. It's been over a year. I think it's 3 minutes. So once you spray it on, you let it sit 3 minutes, it evaporates into the air, and you're good to go. And you've killed all the cooties, and then they don't get in your car. I guess you could, if you were concerned and you did a highly infectious scenario, you could put a towel down so that your uniform that has been inside of this atmosphere doesn't contaminate your car, or you could actually just spray it down with Lysol at the end of the day. Just depends on what you feel comfortable doing. But yeah, I did want to share that information. So those are some of the steps that I taught others to help them disinfect and sanitize. When you do your marketing, again, do not promise 100% sanitation or disinfecting. It's actually against the law, because you really can't do that. It's not physically possible. And what will happen is the EPA will just sit on it, and 18 months from now, they'll ream you and then give you a $10,000 fine for your false, misleading advertisement. So, and I saw that happen to a cleaning company in Mississippi. So, by the time all things were said and done, she had run the same ad, I think like 15 times. So she got dinged 10 grand times 15. So you can do the math on that, and it really sucked. And then she had to get an attorney, and it was like, it was an honest mistake. She wasn't trying to mislead anybody. She was just trying to offer the best services, right? So, those are things to take in consideration. I have one spot left. I just had a cancellation on Friday. So if anyone wants to talk to me to see if I'm their person, I have a spot on Friday, and I think I have 2 spots open next week if you want to talk to me to see if I'm your person. if you need help, because we're after the first of the year, and I'm hoping that all of you, almost all 1,000 of you, have done a price increase. But if you need help with a price increase, please private message me. I'll get you the template that you can give out to your clients. Remember to sprinkle them. Don't do them all at once. You should give at least a 10% increase this year. Remember, we have had the highest inflation in almost 40 years. That's a lot. That's a long time. So if you need help with price increase, please hit me up. I'll be more than happy to walk all of you guys through. And I hope that you have a fabulous week. Take care.